Good evening and welcome. Tonight we will be reading some articles out of History magazine. There's a section in the very back called Discoveries. Can you see up there? Discoveries, which talks about archaeological sites and the history not so much behind the site, but how these sites were excavated by archaeologists. And these two articles tonight are about Latin America. Very different aspects. One in Peru, El Castillo de Huarme, and Calakmul in Mexico. Which I'm pretty sure, like 90% sure, I've looked at these two sites on Google Earth in their videos. This would be in Ancash. This would be in Campeche. So I will flash those up on the screen in the corner there when we reach that part, when we mention it in the articles, if you want to learn more and see me explore them on Google Earth. But first, before we read, I have to thank the channel members who picked these articles. These articles were chosen by Craig, Alex, Luna, and DR. Thank you so much for choosing these articles for me to read. And if you watching this would like to pick future History magazine articles, you can click the join button right down there or the very first link in the description box. Channel members get a lot of perks for only 99 US cents a month. The cheapest I can possibly set it. If I could go lower, I would. Just because I feel like I want as many people as possible to support my channel while getting lots of goodies like exclusive content. I'm planning on a video for channel members where I go through my new map book and plot out how I'm going to structure it for future videos, like a stream of consciousness video. But my channel members get to pick topics and I make videos about them. So if you're interested in that too, please feel free to join. I would love to have you. It always makes me smile real big whenever I get a new channel member. And I'll show you real quick. I've got this long list here that I use at the start of all of my videos to keep track of everyone. And I love adding to it. So yeah, I'd love to have you join. But let's get into these amazing stories about these incredible sites. We're going to read about an intact tomb of 58 Wari women. And I saw this and I said, oh, are they going to show my favorite Wari artifact, which is such a nerd thing to have a favorite artifact from a site. But look at, here it is. Here it is. Look at, right on the front. Look at him. He's so cute. That is the cutest little guy. It's a Wari chief sitting on a raft, found at El Castillo de Huarme. I love that. Oh, it's so cute. But let's read about this tomb that was found. The Wari people founded their capital in the Ayacucho Valley, now south-central Peru. From here, their culture spread, forming what may have been the first Andean empire. It was almost 550 miles north of the Wari capital in the Ancash region that an excavation in 2012 resulted in a remarkable discovery, shedding new light on Wari society. There, in the arid landscape of Peru's desert coast, a Polish-Peruvian team found the first intact Wari mausoleum at a site known as El Castillo de Huarme, or the Castle of Huarme. Almost a century earlier, in 1919, Julio Citello, who's known as the father of Peruvian archaeology, visited the site, but was forced to leave due to an outbreak of bubonic plague. Later, El Castillo de Huarme was largely forgotten by researchers, but unfortunately not by huaqueros, or tomb plunderers. Illegal digging caused significant damages, and an earthquake in the 1970s brought artifacts to the surface, which attracted more thieves. a mausoleum revealed. Despite the challenges, two archaeologists, Miloš Girš and Roberto Pimentel Nita, began to excavate the site in 2010. They knew that, even after removing the thick layer of surface rubble, their chances of finding anything left untouched were minimal, but they were willing to take the risk. In time, their tenacity was rewarded. The site contained nothing less than a large mausoleum dedicated to ancestor worship, a sizable necropolis, and a residential area. The mausoleum, situated at the crest of a hill, is a magnificent orthogonal building partially set into the bedrock with a red painted facade. Only the lower sections of its walls had been preserved, but they were enough to indicate that it was once a labyrinthine complex with more than 20 chambers. In the center of this complex, the archaeologists found a small room with a series of niches in its walls that was dominated by a large throne-like bench. This room became the focus of the excavation campaign when a subterranean chamber was discovered below it. The excavation of this hidden space revealed the first intact collective burial of Wari elite ever found. The chamber consisted of a large central room and 3 lateral subchambers, inside which were the remains of 58 women, all wrapped in funeral bundles and buried with a wealth of precious grave goods. The dry conditions inside the tomb had ensured that the contents were remarkably well preserved. The bodies themselves had been buried in a seated position, and fabric remains suggest the bundles had been wrapped with green and white material, held in place by a thick mesh. In one of these subchambers, the team found the body of a high-ranking noblewoman nicknamed the Huarmey Queen. She was about 60 years old when she died and was buried with valuable objects, including ear flares, a symbol of power in the Andean world, typically associated with the male elite. She clearly commanded great political power. This a little ad for a book here. Elite burials. The archaeologists recovered more than 1,300 objects from the site, including jewelry, weapons, vessels, and weaving implements. The materials are of high quality, and some were considered a luxury at the time. Red spondylus shells imported from Ecuador, obsidian, turquoise, and fine metals. The Huarmey Queen's weaving tools, part of her grave goods, were made of gold. Biological analysis of the remains suggest that none of the people buried at the site suffered from serious illnesses during their lives, confirming that they were members of the select elite of the Wari state. The tomb must have remained open for some time, as insects, fly pupae, snakes, and their eggs had lodged among the bundles and even inside the skulls of the dead. This indicates that not all the funeral bundles were buried at once. When it was time to close the chamber, the Wari filled in the space with earth, stones, and mud. The bodies of 6 sacrificed teenage girls were also left behind. Then they covered the entire tomb with a layer of rubble, which also served to secure a large wooden rod that pointed vertically from the burial chamber toward the throne above. Eternal Watchers. The last bodies to be buried were those of a man and a woman who had been guarding the tomb. To prepare them for this role, the left foot of each had been amputated to prevent them from running away. The pair, of lower social status, had both been sacrificed. They were found more than 1,000 years later, still standing guard over the tomb. The question of whether or not other guardians of eternity are waiting for the archaeologists in El Castillo de Jorme will only be answered with time and careful excavation. Now let's see, here is the Jorme Queen. Goodness, her face painted with a sacred red pigment, adorned with precious jewelry, and surrounded by the objects placed with her at the time of her burial. Isn't that amazing? Wow. And look at these artifacts here. We've got a fragment of textile showing anthropomorphic figures. Very like cubist style. That's pretty great. A gold ear flare with a tubular design and depiction of a winged creature. A caro or drinking cup made from alabaster. Pretty neat with the little faces on it. And look at these. It's so cute. It's like Tweedledum and Tweedledee. Twin bottles that were wrapped in cloth before burial. Just two big guys. That's really cool. Who made these pots and was like, it looks like a guy. Alright, on this page, you can see a diagram here. A resting place for the elite. The mausoleum at El Castillo de Jorme was built around an underground tomb for elite women. You can see this right here. Down here. You can see the bodies down there. Located in a chamber partially excavated from the bedrock of a hill, above the tomb was the throne room, with a throne-like bench where rituals would be performed, and niches in the walls where the burial bundles were probably placed for ceremonies. The rest of the building, which includes other smaller burials, which we can see, where's number 3? Wait, what? Where's number, oh, down here. Way down here. Other little areas down there. Smaller burials was built around this room. If I'd read that, I would have been. The Wari buried their dead in spaces linked to their places of residence, establishing a close relationship between life and death. In this case, the hilltop mausoleum stands directly adjacent to the palace, and the deceased would have been carried in procession to their final resting place. As illustrated here, you can see the Jorme Queen there, looks like, being carried. We got a llama. Looks like they're decorating it right here, breaking it up. Here's a close-up of the burial chamber. The tomb contained 58 funeral bundles, of which 54 were found in the main chamber, and the remaining 4, perhaps queens or princesses, in 3 lateral subchambers. It was in the middle subchamber that the Jorme Queen was found. The bodies of 6 sacrificed adolescent girls had also been deposited on the layer of earth, stones, and mud with which the complex was sealed. You can see there. Looks like they sealed it up and then just tossed bodies on top and probably covered it up more. And then these bundles, oh no, I'm sorry, these bundles are the bodies. So they just tossed them on top of the bodies there. Wow. And the chambers there with the more regal women, we think. Wow. Pretty incredible. So here's what it looks like today. There's Roberto Pimentel-Nita excavating it right there. This is naturally mummified. Let's see, it says, the dry climate of the Peruvian desert coast is a gift to archaeologists. Organic matter, such as wood or textiles that would deteriorate in other environments, tends to be preserved. This extreme aridity also means that the bodies buried there have become naturally mummified, with even the skin tissue retained. There's an arm, goodness. A little creepy. Yeah, it's interesting, the tombs found in Peru and Chile being so preserved, right? It's because of the climate there. All right, let's move a bit farther north to Mexico to look at Calakmul, the Maya kingdom of the snake. I'm probably going to mispronounce some of the Mayan in here. If anyone speaks Mayan watching this, you can correct my pronunciation. Please do. If you speak Mayan, very few people do. Be amazed if anyone watching this does, but if you do, and it's egregious, let me know. If it's really good, let me know too. I'd be like, phew, but probably not. Anyway, Calakmul, the Maya kingdom of the snake. The Snake Kingdom, or Kanu dynasty, was among the most powerful within the Maya realm. Lying deep within the Yucatan Peninsula's jungle, close to Mexico's current border with Guatemala, the kingdom was named Oshtetun, or Three Stones Place, by ancient Maya. In Maya cosmology, three stones often refer to the three hearths of creation, a sacred concept associated with the origin of the universe and the founding of cities. The city is known today as Calakmul, a Maya term meaning two adjacent hills or two adjoining mounds, referring to the twin pyramids at its core. Structure 2, the first to be built, is believed to represent the mythical mountain Huitz, sacred to the Maya. I have to itch my head. It's probably going to pick up on the mic, that's why I said it. Okay. Over time, the structure was overbuilt by successive Calakmul kings. Kalakmul reached the height of its splendor during the 7th and first half of the 8th century CE, most notably under the 7th century rulers Uknumchin II and his successor Ukyam-ich-ak-ak, known as Jaguar Paw, a name that symbolized royalty and strength. The city established significant political ties with other minor city-states as part of its strategy to counterbalance the power of its rival Tikal, now northern Guatemala, and control the trade routes that ran north-south and east-west across present-day Mexico and Guatemala. Calakmul, the Great Snake Kingdom, won victory after victory in the internecine wars against Tikal. But the power balance shifted in 695 when Jaguar Paw led his army against King Jasa Chan Kawil I of Tikal. The victory is recorded on a wooden lintel in Tikal, which reads that King Jasa brought down the flint and shield of Ukamyichakak, reclaimed by the jungle. In the centuries that followed, the Snake Kingdom and other powerful Maya empires declined. Wars broke out among them. Some scientists have proposed that there were also devastating droughts. The legitimacy of political and religious powers waned, and cities were eventually abandoned. Of the monuments known, the last one at Kalakmul, sure you can see, goodness, was constructed in the year 909. Here we go. Sometime after that, the once glorious city was reclaimed by the jungle. Kalakmul remained hidden for 10 centuries. Despite Maya cities sparking interest among European and American explorers during the 18th century and before, Kalakmul was brought to the forefront in 1931 thanks to Cyrus Longworth Lundell, an American botanist and archaeologist. Lundell was working for a chicle company in the area. Gum harvesting had boomed in the Mexican state of Campeche since the end of the 19th century. A group of chicleros, chewing gum hunters, took Lundell to see ruins buried in the jungle. Although he was not yet aware, he was looking at what remained of one of the most powerful Maya kingdoms. Lundell reported his documentation of the site. Yeah, you can see just fine. His documentation of the site, photos, and a map to Sylvanus G. Morley, director of the Carnegie Institution of Washington's research project at Chichen Itza, another important Maya site in the Yucatan Peninsula. Soon after, Morley directed the first expedition to Calakmul and was impressed by the scale of the city and its sculpted monuments. In 1934, another expedition was organized, this time by Carl Rupert and John H. Dennison, who drew up the first detailed plans of the site. Despite Calakmul's initial impact on the explorers and Mexican authorities, it wasn't investigated further and remained known only to the Chicleros. During the 1960s through 1980s, as demand for Maya artifacts soared among collectors and exhibitors, the isolated jungle city suffered significant looting. Many of the better preserved stelae depicting Maya royalty dressed in detailed finery on the day of their enthronement were sawed off. All that was left behind were the blank or less detailed sides of the stelae, which in some cases ended up being defaced by tourists. My goodness, don't do that. My goodness. Hidden treasures. In 1975, Mayanist and epigraphist Eric von Ew began cataloging the inscriptions and images on the monuments. But systematic excavations didn't commence until 1982, under the direction of archaeologist William J. Folan. In 1993, archaeologist Ramon Carrasco Vargas took leadership of the Kalakmul archaeological project. Under his direction, archaeologists, restorers, and other specialists have been revealing what the city was like in its heyday. They have uncovered a wealth of architecture and art, including a painted pyramid, monumental buildings fitted one inside another, palaces, stelae, and tombs of kings and queens containing impressive goods. Excavations in recent decades have revealed some unexpected treasures along the way. A set of exceptionally well-preserved murals was discovered in Structure 1 in a sealed room within its substructure, a later addition. Often referred to as the Kalakmul murals, they depict vibrant everyday scenes, women preparing food, people exchanging goods. This subject matter is rare in Maya art, which most commonly represents the elite and ceremonial rites. As the murals were covered up shortly after being painted, they remain beautifully preserved. Jaguar Paw's tomb. In 1997, Vargas's team discovered an unusual tomb inside Structure 2. The colorful wooden sarcophagus, inscribed with hieroglyphs, had a vaulted structure reminiscent of the sacred caves of the Great Pyramid, which was believed to be a portal to the afterlife. The skeletal remains of a man lay inside, wrapped in animal skin and various fabrics. Offerings included a jade funerary mask and several luxurious vessels, some of which were made in the codex style, a type of Maya ceramic art that mimics the appearance of bark paper books covered in hieroglyphs and painted illustrations. The tomb's occupant was identified by a plate inscribed with the owner's name, Yukon Yichak Jaguar Paw. Kalakmul has been designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 2014 in recognition of both its cultural and environmental significance. With the help of rangers and surveillance cameras, the Mexican Army and police now keep a close eye on the site to protect it from looters and illegal logging. Kalakmul is key to understanding ancient Maya culture. Its architectural ambition and the refinement of its grave goods reveal a society where power, ritual, and the cosmos were inextricably bound. Let me show you this over here. Let me cover up the ad for these books. It says Paintings Uncovered. Built in the 7th century, Kalakmul's painted pyramid features murals that offer a rare glimpse into everyday Maya life, which is uncommon in the region's monumental art. Women are depicted preparing food, while noblemen and priests drink atole and eat corn tamales. Similar to other Maya buildings, it was an accumulation of superimposed remodelings. Construction started between the years 420 and 620. It was completed between the years 820 and 102. I'm guessing 1102. They remained hidden for more than a millennium until a team of archaeologists from Mexico uncovered them in 2004. So here is the pyramid that these paintings are found in. So number 1 is right here on this side. No, wait, number 1 is right here. Number 2 is down here, and number 3 is up here. So let's see, number 2 is at the top. It shows a woman in a translucent blue dress or huipil decorated with hieroglyphs reaches out and holds a large vessel on the head of another in less elaborate clothing. To the right is a man with a bowl at his lips. The glyphs above him read Ajul, Atole person. Atole means hot masa drink. This dude is be drinking. How interesting. Yeah, I wonder why they had regular scenes on a pyramid like this. But also, like, think about, like, murals made today. Like, we don't paint murals of our, like, world leaders as much. We paint people and scenes important to us. So as 2 individuals appear with accompanying text that reads Ajmahi, tobacco person. Interesting, tobacco person. They're smoking. And what are these people doing? A seated person with a large pot wears a tall, wide-brimmed hat. Looks like a sombrero. That's so cool. And pours liquid. The individual opposite drinks from a vessel painted blue. Wonder what it says. Hat man. Drink making man. And look at his hat. His hat is cool. Wow. How interesting. They had some cool hats back then. Let's look at these grave goods. Royal grave goods. Tomb 4 of Kalakmul substructure 11B contained the remains of the ruler Yuk Amyach Ak Jakwarpa. The body of the king, laid out and wrapped in a shroud, was accompanied by a rich array of grave goods, most notably a jade mask placed over one shoulder. That's amazing. Below are 2 objects from other royal burials at Kalakmul. A jade pectoral. The T-shaped symbol is ik, meaning wind or breath. So this would be, it's like basically a necklace, but it drapes down. I'm like pointing at my chest, you can't see. It's like, it's a necklace that sits down on your chest, basically. It's very long. And a funerary vessel, which is really neat too. I wonder what's painted on it. You can see the little hieroglyphs up there. Here is the reconstructed tomb. So this is not a real skeleton, don't worry. Reconstructed tomb of Jaguarpa, exhibited at the Archaeological Museum of Campeche at the Fort of San Miguel. Down here is a stele from Calakmul. This is also at the Archaeological Museum of Campeche. And here's what Kalakmul looks like today. Their structure 2. Height of almost 200 feet. This is beneath the frieze. An earlier substructure was found by archaeologists inside structure 2 in the 1990s, featuring an elaborate frieze modeled in stucco and depicting the rain deity Chalk. Just beneath it, they uncovered a hidden chamber that appeared to have been used by Kalakmul's early kings for ritual ceremonies. There's the archaeologist they mentioned, Vargas. What was his full name? Ramon Carrasco Vargas. There he is. So cool. So, that was it for tonight. Weren't those neat sights? So cool. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. And if you'd like to pick future History Magazine articles, go ahead and click that join button right down there to become a channel member. I hope that you found this video to be relaxing and educational. Look at the little guy, so cute. And I hope that you have a good night. Good night.